Blog Talk Radio.
From the pole, as I put it in the wall, second lap of my heat, got a little loose coming out of three, got it all beat up and straightened out. The boys tell me that we're ready to run now. That's a damn good thing, 'cause that green flag's waving and I'm on the gas. I put my sweat and blood to these nuts and bolts. Yeah, I turn a red. The only way I can afford to fill it up again, tear it up again. It's the only way I'm ever gonna learn. One more left turn.
Okay. Howdy do, folks. Playing a little Cody Hicks. His dirt track song he did called Left Turn to start the show. I got to find me another song. I like that song a lot. I play it all the time. But I want something different for my show as the opener and then the exit of the show other than Left Turn. But if you go on YouTube, look up Cody Hicks, look up the video Left Turn. It was filmed at a dirt track. Forgot which dirt track it was. I'm a dirt tracker. I love dirt tracking, so awesome song. So what's up, everybody? We got an awesome show tonight. We have some awesome guests coming on. We have Donald Parker, the owner of Hattiesburg Speedway, going to call in. And about 7:10 or so, we'll have Dave Chisholm calling in, and then hopefully my buddy Robbie Johns will call in. It'd be awesome if Robbie gets to call in. And I'm going to try to do 15-minute segments, but if they go over, it is what it is, because I don't have a lot of guests. So going to be a little bit different since I run the show. We'll do and talk about what we want, and talk about God, safety, and racing. And in that order, God first, safety second, then racing. That's the order I roll by. And had an awesome, awesome day today at work. God's great, y'all. And I want to talk about the Race Safer Fuel Arrestor. Like I've been telling people, no Chinese junk, made in America, quality product in racing. You don't want to skip on safety in racing. Any kind of safety. Don't have no lame excuses for not being safe in a race car. Quit cutting corners. Like I see people all the time, drivers all the time, cut corners, and then I see the ones that focus more on speed and winning races than they do being safe. Well, if you want to go home to your family, then you better take safety serious. It's not a laughing matter. And quit coming up with excuses not to buy safety products. Like I've heard before on the fuel arrestor, well, if you make it mandatory, I'd buy it. Well, why should something have to be mandatory that could save your life before you buy it? You know how stupid that sounds? I'm just being honest here. I'm being real. I ain't no telling how many times I've heard that. You make it mandatory, I'd buy it. Okay. That makes about as much sense as, I don't know, driving backwards on a racetrack. But if you check us out on the fuel arrestor, Race Safer Fuel Arrestor, LLC.com, website I built, check us out. Let me know what you think of the website. I have many hours in building it. And, of course, I have Miss Tina, Robbie's wife. Thank you, Miss Tina, for helping me with the website and getting it going. So I didn't do it all by myself. I did a lot of it, but Tina, shout out to Tina. She's smart with that stuff, too, so she helped me out. And got to give a shout out to Robbie for inventing the Race Safer Fuel Arrestor. So what it is, it's made of NASA-grade material. It's a racing safety device that fits around the fuel cell of your race car. And if you get in an accident, and your fuel cell ruptures, it will soak up your race fuel. Now, it's like anything in racing. It will soak up, it'll take damage like anything in racing, and it will not soak up all your race fuel, but it will soak up a good bit of it. And it's like our good friend Kyle Jinks said, because he ordered one from us for his front-wheel drive car. Shout out to Kyle Jinks and Front Wheel Drive Fridays. Kyle's a good guy. So Kyle ordered one for his front-wheel drive car he's building because he just got in a huge wreck this year, and his car barrel rolled his SC-DRA front-wheel drive Nissan, barrel rolled it 18 times. He counted them. And you can go back and watch the video. Outside the Groove magazine wrote an article about him. Destroyed his car. He had the best of the best safety equipment in his car. That's why he's alive today. That and God. If it wasn't for God blessing him, he'd be dead right now, because that was a scary. I've seen the video several times. It's another car's on-car camera that catches it, but a car clips him in the rear, and he barrel rolls it 18 times. Pretty scary stuff. Totaled the car. It bent the cage a little bit. You can tell he spent money on the best cage you can buy. You like to ask him the brand name of cages if you're looking for a strong cage. I believe it was Money Well Wasted, or I can't remember the brand name. You'd have to ask him. But go like Front Wheel Drive Fridays on Facebook, and go like us at Race Safe Fuel Arrestor on Facebook. But Kyle brought up a good point in his video that he did when he got his fuel arrestor. The fuel arrestor gives you time to get out of your race car. It gives you time to unbuckle, because it takes a minute to get unbuckled and get your helmet and all that stuff off of you. It gives you extra time to get out of the car in the event of a fuel fire or anything like that. And, you know, fuel arrestor is awesome. NASA-grade material. It's got pig mat inside. It's really, really cool. It's, in my opinion, it's the best fuel safety device on the market. It's just my opinion. I mean, we're the only ones that have something like this. We got the patent on it, so it's awesome. We also make one for your fuel pump. We also make fuel sleeve wrap that goes around your fuel sleeves, and if you want it to go all the way to the front of your race car, we can get it as long as you want. As long as you want it, you just let us know what size you need for fuel hose, and we can wrap your fuel hose and go all the way to the front of your car. Then we also make one for your battery too. And I watched the car battery explode at Deepside Speedway. I think it was Mr. Kevin Saucier this year. His battery exploded in his car, and car caught fire. Thankfully, they got it out. And I was talking with him about what happened, and he told me, he said, yeah, that's what happened. The battery exploded. Well, we make one for your battery too, because not everybody can afford one of these gel-proof six-pack batteries. So if you have just a standard battery, it can take damage like that and can explode. You don't want to get battery acid all over you. So we can make a fuel arrestor for that too. There's all kind of other neat things we can make with the fuel arrestor material. So Robbie's the designer. You got something, let us know what you want for your car. We have, it's pretty cool. Like, you tell us the brand name of your fuel cell. If it's no brand name on there, then give us the dimensions is the main thing we need. If it's got a brand name on there, that's good, because we can look up on the website of who makes it if they're still in business. And a lot of times they'll tell you on the website what the dimensions are of the fuel cell. But it's best to measure it and let us know what it measures. Does not matter what size fuel cell. If you're racing go-karts, the smallest go-kart they make, we can make one. Go-karts, Stingers, super late models. The one that's the standard size that we carry, fits a vintage car, street stock, modified 16 to 22 gallon fuel cell, is $399. That's a good deal, because if you're going, like, I hear people paying $400 for a Zamp neck brace, so that's not too expensive. I don't care what you say. And then of course you step up. You got your dirt late model, which is $499 for a 32 gallon, I believe it is. And then of course you got your asphalt late model version, and it's $599 for the asphalt late model. And you can't put a price on safety. I've seen multiple videos and stuff we shared on our Facebook of drivers getting burnt because of fuel fires. And you know, usually the ones that joke about safety are the ones that get hurt. and you joke about fuel fires, then you're going to get burned one day. I hate to say that. I mean, I hope that's not the case. You know, I want everybody to be safe and not get burned, but just a lot of times so many people joke about safety and don't take it serious, and they're the ones that get hurt. That's my point. So you want to take safety serious. The fuel arrestor is awesome. I have one I've been taking around to the racetracks and showing off, and I've got videos of what it does, like me showing it off, and then of course my latest video is of Mr. David Little. Shout out to Teresa and David Little. She ordered one from Mr. David's modified, his sport mod. He races at Magnolia Motor Speedway, so he's supposed to be getting his on his car soon, but I took it to him and didn't have time to put it on, but he went to race, and I got to watch him race at Magnolia, home of the Black Ice, so that was cool. And it looks like we got our first guest called in. Let's see if Mr. Dave Chisholm is on the line. Hello there, is this Dave? Hello? Hello there. Let me make sure this is Dave or Donald Parker. Let's see, Dave. Okay, it must be Donald Parker, so I'll go ahead and get Donald Parker on the line then. Hey,
hey, Jared.
How you doing, Mr. Donald?
All right, how are you?
Man, I'm doing dang near skippy. It can't be no better.
Yeah, I just got home from the track. I've been working on some lights this afternoon.
Oh, that's great. You get all your lights working?
Well, I just had to readjust some where the winds blow them around. Every once in a while, you have to do that.
I bet that's a pain in the butt, ain't it?
Yeah, just getting set up to do it. So the pain, once you get up in the air, it really don't take that long.
Well, that's cool. So for those that's listening that don't know, Mr. Donald is the owner of Hattiesburg Speedway, a fine, fine facility. They race every Friday, except for during football season, they race Saturday nights. So tell us how the Curtis Burns Memorial went.
It went pretty good. We didn't get to have it last year, just due to scheduling conflict with other racetracks and this and that, and just run out of time last year getting it in. And if we had it, that would have been, I think, the 11th Curtis Burns last year, and then we come back this year and picked it back up. I think we had 18 or 19 cars showed up. It turned out to be a pretty good race.
Wow, that's awesome. I bet that was some of the best modified racing you will ever see.
It's generally a pretty good race. We went like 15 laps caution free after we got the race started, and you know how it is. After you have one caution, it leaves a couple more. But it turned out to be a pretty good race.
That's great, because I enjoy those caution-free races. It's just so smooth. I bet the track was super fast, and I didn't really see no complaints on Facebook, so that tells me the drivers enjoyed it.
Yeah, the track started out the night really hooked up, and as the night went on, it just kind of blacked over, but it was good and smooth, and it was real racy, had multiple grooves, and Noah Daspit won it. We give him, he's our 4-time winner of the Curtis Burns, and Jay Lucenberg was running a close second to him, and he was last year, or the last Curtis Burns race winner that we had, and prior to Noah winning this last one, he was tied with 3 wins with Ben Stevens. We got some pretty good name modified drivers of past winners.
That's awesome. Well, I tell you what, I got to give a shout out to Jay Lusenberg, his dad, and Miss Julia. They came on the show last week. Super, super good people, and I'm glad they got to race, because I I knew they was excited about it, and that's pretty cool. He finished second because that Noah Nesbitt's hard to beat.
Yeah, Jay broke with about 5 laps to go.
Oh, man.
And I think he had some kind of transmission problems, and he had to come out of the race. But before that, it was a pretty good race between them two.
Man,
for sure.
That's some buzzard luck right there. Well, did y'all have so what was your
Sir?
You did what now?
I said, and then we come up and had a jam up good crate race right after that, and I think it went caution free, green and checkered.
Wow, so who won that one?
Chase Cooper.
Oh, yeah, Chase Cooper, he's a good one. I've seen him race him many a times.
Yep. We had a good field of crate cars. We actually had a good field of cars in every class last Friday night. Reason we switched to Saturdays is car count's been decent on us, and can't really complain about car count on Fridays, but the fan count's been awful low last couple of Fridays since football started. So we're switching over to Saturday starting this weekend.
I tell you what, I like football. I like high school football. I could care less about college or NFL. I love high school football, but I'm always going to pick racing over football. Racing is just 1,000 times better, in my opinion.
Well, you got a lot of race fans that like racing, but then they got kids that play football, grandkids, nephews, and cousins and stuff like that they got to go support. And, football this year started about three weeks earlier than it has any other time ever, and it just caught us off guard.
Oh, that sucks. Well, I tell you what, one thing
earlier and earlier every year.
And one thing I have noticed that I like about Hattiesburg is the roasted corn. And then another thing I want to hit on also, like you just said, school starts earlier and earlier. I think that's so stupid in my opinion, because like when I was growing up, like I'm 38, and I can remember when school was starting after my birthday, which is August 19th. And then it started getting earlier and earlier, started on my birthday, the 19th. I'm like, daggum. And now where I'm at, it's like you might as well have year-round school if you're just gonna keep going up and up like that. That's nuts.
Used to when I was in school, we never went back to school till after Labor Day.
Wow,
we never started school after Labor Day, and used to when we first started racing, our race season ended Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend would be our last race of the season, and it would always be a big championship race on Labor Day weekend, and that would be the end of the season. We don't have race seasons no more. Used to, race season would start at the end of March, 1st of April, and run to the Labor Day, and we'd shut it down. Then everybody go deer hunting and, get prepared for Thanksgiving and the holidays. And then, you had some downtime, but there ain't no downtime in racing no more. And in my opinion, that's kind of the downfall for racing, is we don't have no downtime no more for people to regroup. Yeah.
And I'm going to eventually get me a car, get me a little Stinger car is what I'm going to eventually get. But I like racing. Like, I don't care how cold it is. I'm going to be at the racetrack. But I also see your point, how it kills it, because you got to have time to rebuild your car if you got damage to it, get it ready for next season, freshen it up, whatever you got to do. And a lot of that stuff takes time, especially if you're a driver that doesn't have a lot of money, doesn't have a big budget, so you have to kind of spread it out.
But it's not just that. You burn everybody out, If you know you're going to start racing at the end of March, 1st of April, and it's going to end in first weekend of September, you're going to race all you can in a few months, because once it's over, it's over. And,
right.
once we was over in our Labor Day weekend, the next thing we had to look forward to was we'd all gear up and get ready to go to the Fall Classic. And sometimes we'd be through racing a full month and a half before the Fall Classic, and it was just a big shindig to go to the Fall Classic every year, after being out for that long. And that made the Fall Classic that much more special.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I go to the Fall Classic, and that's a big, big race.
Yep. But now everybody races right up to the Fall Classic, right on through the Fall Classic, right on into the first of the year. Like I said, there's no down.
It really ain't when you think about it. So I know you're a racer, so I want to ask you. So since this is a safety podcast, what is your biggest things in safety that you like to preach on safety? Your biggest things you wish drivers would do, or whatever?
Just pay attention to their surroundings, and I'm real big on not as much as performance as I am safety. I think the chassis being built for safety becomes before performance, and people get that mixed up.
Exactly, that's the way it should be.
People cut corners on safety just to get a little more speed, but when you're laid up in a hospital for something, you can't go back and man, I wish I'd have did it a little different. But
that's right.
But people are willing to take that chance sometimes.
And it's like the Bible says, you're not promised tomorrow. And like I was talking about earlier with the fuel arrestor, like you wouldn't believe, and I'm sure you hear a lot of excuses, but like I hear so many excuses on safety products, like gloves, for instance. Well, I can't pull my tear offs. It's like, no, you can redneck rig away. I've like my buddy Daniel Sullivan, his dad was telling me, Tim Sullivan was telling me the way he does his tear offs was because he's a dirt driver, and he takes his gloves and folds that tear off enough to where he can grip it with that glove and pulls it off, no problem. But if you don't wear gloves, well, if you get burned, well, don't come back and tell me, well, you was right. Well, too late now. And then like the fuel arrestor with fuel safety, one of the things I've heard this a bunch of times, well, if you'd make it mandatory, I'd buy it. I said, well, why should something that would save your life be mandatory before you buy it? That sounds stupid to me.
Yeah. Well, when I first got the track, I had racing gloves, window nets, and neck braces, all mandatory. And I had some racers say, I ain't wearing gloves, I ain't doing this. So I said, fine. Then I highly recommend. And and you choose your own safety on it. But I never liked wearing gloves when I first was forced to wear them, but I got used to them. Then after I got used to them, I felt naked without gloves.
Yeah.
Same difference with the neck brace. When we first was forced to wear neck braces, I couldn't stand it. And then if I went out without a neck brace on, I felt naked without it. It's just what you get used to.
Yeah. And I mean, people will come up any excuse under the sun to cut corners and not be safe. I want to win the race, or I'm running this and this in points. It's like, look, points ain't going to do you a bit of good in the hospital or 6 feet under the ground.
Yeah. Well, it's like when I first got the track, a Pier Street class, the weight rule when I got the track and adapted the rules that I had, cars had to weigh 3,400 pounds. So the first thing I did is I cut that weight limit down to 3,000. And I says, take the money you're going to save on buying lead and spend it on safety equipment. And I couldn't get other tracks on board with me to lower the weight limit, so I had to move the weight limit back up. But lead at a minimum of $2 a pound, if you cut a guy 300 pounds, that's a pretty good bit of freed up money that they can buy something safety wise.
Exactly. I agree with that. I am 100% on board with that.
Yeah, because some of these cars are toting 500-600 pounds. They don't need to be toting that much at both on lead.
Yeah, that's a lot of
ridiculous.
lead. I mean, yeah, and like I hear all kinds of stuff. Like I don't know. I think gloves should be mandatory. All the safety stuff should be mandatory. It's sad that you have to make something mandatory before somebody would buy it. I mean, that just tells you how much people care about their life or care about their family or safety, whatever, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's just like one time, and this has been since I got ran over at the track, you know, and I didn't plan on getting run over. I come home from working out of town. I wasn't at the racetrack 45 minutes before I got run over, and that's the last thing I thought was going to happen. And it changed my life from that moment on. It altered my life from that instant. And
it gave you a different perspective.
Well, since then, I don't like no more personnel on the racetrack than has to be, and I don't like a driver on a racetrack at all for no reason. I don't like a driver on the racetrack whatsoever, no matter what their excuse is, other than a car on fire. There's no reason their feet should hit the ground. And, but I had a racer come up to me one night. We was packing the track, and the cars wasn't rolling it in good. And a driver rolled up to me and hollered at me, said, "Hey, you're going to have to get out here and force us down in the mud if you want this track rolled in." And I told him, I said, "You're all grown men. I ain't sending no personnel out there to get run over. We're going to race on the track that y'all prep for yourself. It's y'all's racetrack to race on."
Uh-huh.
But that's the kind of mentality a racer has. You know, they come up there and tell me I got to get out there and force them down in the mud. You know.
Yeah, isn't that stupid? Telling you, I mean, you're the owner. That's like telling our crazy president that you know, telling him what to do.
Yeah, but that's not the point. You know, they should have enough common sense to see what needs to be done. They're all supposed to be grown men and racers. They should know what to do.
Because I'm not a big fan of. I hate one groove racing, and I can't stand it when I see drivers. All they race is the bottom. They don't move to the top. They don't. You know, I mean, I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and drivers, they need to learn to work the whole, you know, racetrack, like you said, that way they can have multiple grooves instead of just one.
Well, I try to roll the track in myself for the most part because I don't like the cars out there in the sloppy mud. So usually when I bring the cars out anyway, the track's about 85% rolled in, if not 90% rolled in, before I bring the cars out anyway, just to slick it off for the most part. So, because I like to do majority of the track packing myself. So,
That's cool. That's cool.
Because I want a multi-groove track.
That's great. Well, I tell you what, the times I've been to Hattiesburg, I've enjoyed it. I love going. I just wish I didn't live 2 hours away. And I love Ron Southern. Ron Southern he is awesome. He has done a lot for me. And then I thank the world of him and you and Ernie and everybody up there. I just love going to Hattiesburg.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we operate our racetrack with probably less personnel than any racetrack around. It ain't by choice. It's just all the personnel we can round up. It's difficult. Every week we got 1, 2 to even 3 people still on a weekly deal don't show up, and we just have to work around it. But it's hard to get help, you know.
So this is what we'll do. So anybody that's listening to the show, one, I want you to share the show and tell your friends about it, because the more people listening, the better, because I don't know who's listening and who ain't. I'll see the stats later. But when you share this show, also talk with people and find people that want to work at Hattiesburg Speedway. Great place to work, Mr. Donald. He needs workers to help at that racetrack because it's not easy. If you want to get a race in a timely manner, have a good track, have good food, everything, then find somebody that will want to work at the racetrack and message Mr. Donald or call him, and he'll get you set up with a position.
Yeah, it's just one of them things, you know. This person gets sick one night, and then another person, their kid gets sick. It ain't nothing, you know, most times it's out of people's control, but
right.
You know, we just generally work through it.
Well, that's cool. So is there any sponsors you want to thank before I go on to the next guest?
That's easy. Hattiesburg Speedway.
Oh, okay. Well, look, if anybody wants to sponsor Hattiesburg Speedway, you get with Mr. Donald because that is the perfect advertising opportunity because you got thousands of fans that'll see your business name all over the racetrack and all over their 2 Facebook pages. So hit up Mr. Donald and sponsor that racetrack. We'd love to see a local business sponsor him.
With that being said, next weekend we got our eighth annual Dixie 50 with the Pierce Street.
Now that's a race of races.
Which is also, we included it to be our Mitchell Williams Memorial Race. And with that being said, I'm going to do an open practice on Friday night. And I'm not accustomed to doing a practice, but we are going to do an open practice Friday night for anybody that wants to come practice. And
that's great.
I'm putting together something special for the Pierce Street guys. That's going to be real rewarding to them, and I'm going to be putting a post out maybe tonight or early in the morning what that's going to be about. But trust me, it's going to be big.
Well, that's great.
It's going to be rewarding to come practice.
That's awesome. Well, y'all be sure and tune in. Follow Mr. Donald on Facebook. Go and watch his post and watch Hattiesburg Speedway's post, and he'll have it on there because he's pretty good about posting on social media. Because that is one thing I'm big on is posting on social media. Because the thing that bothers me, and I see it all the time, and I ain't gonna name no tracks because I don't talk bad about tracks, but I see a lack of social media posts on your Facebook pages, and that's where all your fans are gonna be watching. If you don't post on social media, if you don't engage with your fans, if you don't keep them updated, because Facebook's got a lot of tools that people ain't using, and it's just bad advertising for your racetrack when you don't keep your pages updated. And I see a lot of stuff, and I'm like, really? That's crazy. But if you see Hattiesburg, it's either Ron, or Mr. Parker there advertising, and they do a good job keeping up with advertising and promoting their races. And
yeah, with that being said, Jared, it's really important. I hate to keep asking people to help us share posts, but with the way Facebook is now, if people don't help us share posts, there's not that many people sees it because Facebook has got us limited to a certain amount of people, and the only way we can get stuff out to where more public people can see it, we need other people to help us share because they got everybody's circle a lot smaller than it used to be. So
exactly, that is exactly the truth right there.
So for people to see advertisement or anything to do with a racetrack or anything, when a racetrack posts something, help them share it because we need that help to get it out even further because we're limited to how many people can see what we posted. Facebook's making it harder and harder to advertise.
So one more quick thing to mention about that is it doesn't cost anything to share. It's super easy, and another good tool that people either don't know about or just don't use, whatever. When you share the post, not only don't just click share and just share a blank post. When you share it, put you a caption on it and say, hey, come to Hattiesburg Speedway. And also it gives you an option where you click it's a little blue people icon, and you click it, and you can go through the line and tag people in it. Tag them ABC order if you want to. I usually tag 100 people a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And when you share it, then they'll get the notification they was tagged in this, and they'll say, oh, that's Hattiesburg Speedway. Well, I need to go there. Let me tell so-and-so. Because word of mouth and social media is a huge tool that can be used for racing.
Yeah, because I've went through my, Messenger group before,
yes.
And I've shared it to hundreds of people just on my Messenger, whether they're racing people or not. You'll be surprised at the people that come to the races that ordinarily is not race fans, just because.
And see, that's a good idea too. That's a good idea too. Send it in Messenger because it shows you in Messenger whether somebody reads your message or not, and you'll send it, and it'll do a little pop noise when they see it, and show their picture that they've seen it, and say, there you go, there's another advertisement for a racetrack. And so, but I thank you for coming on. If you want to still listen, or if you want to chime in with the next guest, but I got Dave Chisholm coming up next, and I thank you for coming on, Mr. Donald.
All right, and I just want to, before we get off, invite as many Pierce Street factory stock guys that would like to come run with us. And like I said, keep an eye out what we're going to do for that Friday night, because you Pierce Street guys are going to want to be a part of this.
Okay, well, come down to the Dixie 50. Let me tell you, folks, I've been there for the Dixie 50. It's rated R for redneck, and as Chris says, rated R for racing. It's well worth the drive to Hattiesburg Speedway, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You can't miss it. Put it on your GPS. Go down there, because the Dixie 50 is the race of races for the Pierce Street and the factory stock guys.
Yeah. And it's probably one of the raciest racetracks you'll come to.
Well, that's great. All right, let's see if we can pull Dave Chisholm on.
All right, well, have a good night.
Well, thank you, Mr. Donald. We'll see you later. All right. So that was Donald Parker, the owner of Hattiesburg Speedway. I'm telling you, he is super awesome guy. So let's give him a round of applause. Thank you for coming on, Mr. Donald. So what's up, Dave Chisholm? How you doing?
Man, doing all right. Jared, how's it going, buddy?
Man, I'm doing dang near skippy. God has blessed me with an awesome day. So I can't complain.
That's cool.
So how you been?
Man, been doing better. Enjoying a little bit of a cooler temperature last day or two, and looking forward to more cool days and a little more racing, and not having to hide from the sun and the heat so much. Get outside and enjoy it. Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's been hotter than a billy goat with a blowtorch. It's been hotter than a rusty chainsaw in a pawn shop. And
that's right.
I mean, it can't get no more hotter than a rusty chainsaw in a pawn shop. Let me tell you, buddy, because golly, I was at Deep South Speedway a few weeks ago, I think it was, or whenever, and the heat index was like 105, and I was sweating like a bad guy trying to tell the truth.
Man, I know what you mean. We went down to Pike County, and luckily we was as far back in the pits as you could get, and there was a nice little creek that ran back there, and the water temp was 70 degrees, so we spent every available minute spare that we had down into that creek for the whole weekend.
It's a good thing you didn't see a snake.
No, that's right. Yeah, we didn't see any snakes.
Hey, that creek's an awesome place to be at a racetrack. Let me tell you, because like I can just imagine a big old billy goat with a blowtorch up there at the racetrack, and it's just about like Deep South. They had to cancel one of their races because it was just too hot. The track, I don't blame them. I'd have done the same thing. They did the right call.
Oh,
and
yeah.
them track workers, It was like 110 heat index. Man, them track workers would have passed out, heat exhaustion. You don't want to get a heat stroke, you know.
Yeah, and then you got your racers in fire suits and Nomex with helmet, gloves, neck brace, boots, and inside of a like a little oven in race cars anyway, with all the heat coming directly up, all around you, and plus
man.
your track, there's no way to keep moisture in the track when it's that hot, and it's just too hot for anything.
It is, and the only way that would make it worth it, and I don't care how cold it is, I'm going to a dirt track race. I remember going to the Bull Ring Flomaton Speedway one year for the track championship. Their final race was in November every year, and it was 45 degrees. I mean, it was colder than a cast iron toilet on the shaded side of an iceberg.
That's right. Yeah.
And look, I enjoyed it. A lot of people's like, oh, it's too cold. No, it ain't.
No, it ain't never too cold. You can put more on, but once you take everything off and you're still hot and suffering, that's as far as you can go.
Exactly, because I don't mind cold weather. I hate summertime. I hate the hot weather. The only reason I like summertime is dirt track racing, and then when I can go to asphalt racing. That's the only time I like summertime. Other than that, they can have it.
Exactly, yeah. Columbus for years had the Winter Classic, which was like in January, and I've been down there when it was like, in the 30s, and your bottle of water and stuff be freezing up on you. But the engines run better in the cooler air. It's track's able to hold the moisture. It's just it's way better than suffering from being too hot.
Yeah, cause like where I work at, it's on like hotter than a nanny goat walking through a pepper patch eating both rows. Don't describe it. And look, I'm gonna take a nanny goat and drop him off in a pepper patch, and I'm gonna video him eating it. That way I can say I finally seen it. But
there you go.
So, but basically, talking about like the heat, you don't want to get a heat stroke because. One of the things I didn't know till recently, like I get hot real easy. I sweat real bad, and I drink water like a fish. And
me too.
One of the things I was told is, you're about to have a heat stroke and get dehydrated when you stop sweating. And
exactly.
I had no idea. And I always knew Gatorade and stuff with electrolytes helped you, but water was the best thing. But I didn't know. When you stop sweating, I was like, oh, man, that's scary.
Exactly, yep. I had a small one about 3 weeks ago. I was drinking and regularly, and I just got too hot, and I noticed I started getting, like some cramps, and then I noticed that I had quit sweating. So I called it a day then, and went and got rest and then drank. It's like if you drink a Gatorade or a Powerade or, electrolyte, it's like you drink one of them and then you're supposed to drink like 2 bottles of water, and not just drink Gatorades back to back. But it's it comes out of you about as fast as you can pour it down your throat, here in Mississippi, Alabama.
Yeah, and here's a scary incident that happened. So everybody knows or around this area anyways, like Deep South Speedway area, Tri-County area, we had a driver named Chandler Shaw who passed away, and they do a memorial race for him every year called the Forever 51, and his number was the 51 car. And I won't never forget, the only 2 times I've ever met him was back when I was still doing photography in the infield at Deep South. Chandler won both nights of the Duels and Dixie race and was awesome. And he was so happy. He's like, man, I hadn't raced here in many, many years, and I'm looking forward to coming back next season. And he was so nice to me, and he was so happy. And I remember getting his picture both nights in Victory Lane, and he was grinning like a possum. And then that Sunday, he passed away. And the story was his best friend, Bo, went and saw Chandler's vehicle at his house, and knocked on the door and wondered why it was still there Monday. He's like, why ain't Chandler at work? And he went in there and they found him dead in his chair. And what happened was, from my understanding, I hope I'm telling the story right, I don't want to butcher it, but like he was cutting grass that Sunday and got too hot and came in to cool off. And when he sat down to cool off, the shock from the air hit him, it sent him into shock, and he had a heat stroke, passed away. And
yep.
That's a serious thing to think about at the racetrack. You don't want to get too hot. You got to stay hydrated.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, heat stroke like arthritis, it don't discriminate on age. You could be a young, healthy, in shape, you know, person, and you still, you know, could end up just like Chandler did. It was Bo Slade that found him, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I remember that. My father in '73. I remember my dad he was working in the garden one afternoon. He got too hot, and he come in the house to get him a cup of coffee and cool off, and he had a massive heart attack, and from it was heat and stress related, but the doctor told him that the cup of coffee, the stimulant, I guess the caffeine, was what had actually had saved his life till they got him into the hospital.
Wow.
I had a couple buddies. One of them, he was a boat mechanic, and he just got the feeling bad and said he was going to go home and call it an early day and rest and come back the next day. And just like you said, he went home and got in the house, cooled off in his recliner, and never got back out of it. Yep.
Golly. And it's like the Bible says, you ain't promised tomorrow.
That's right. Yep. You know, you're pretty much invincible until your appointed time, but nobody, you know, I haven't never seen, you know, a slip with a time and date on it, so never know, you know.
That's right. Only God knows when it's our time.
Yep. Yeah. Don't need to go home or go to bed with grudges or you know, or mad or whatever. Don't need to take anything for granted, for sure.
Exactly. So tell us about your racing and your son's racing. Of course, you race at the MAG, the home of the Black Ice, Magnolia Motor Speedway.
Yeah. Well, we race there. That's the MAG and the Columbus Speedway. Both tracks here in Columbus are pretty much what we consider a home track. You know, we're 30, 45 minutes from them, and Wynot is a couple hours. Hattiesburg's 4.5. You know, so actually, my son started his car racing. He had a couple little stints. He used to get in mine when he was about 12 or 13 or 14, and pack the track and do a little hot rodding out there, and so you know, he raced go-karts as a kid, and tried to keep him in the go-karts, you know, to give him something to do with other like-minded folks, and try to keep him off the streets and out of trouble. And you know, and thing about, you know, like cars and go-karts, you use a lot of basic math, geometry, physics, science, and all that, and you know, when you get out there and working on them as kids with your parents, instead of and getting your hands on them, you know, like with a tape measure and different things, you actually start learning ratios and fractions, and you see how it's relatable instead of just looking at a chalkboard and wondering, you know, what will I use them for? And kids generally you'll see an improvement across the board in their school grades, you know, that kids that are involved in racing. But he raced the go-karts. Yeah, yes, sir. It is good. Plus, you know, you learn sportsmanship and you know, good morals and make new friends, and it gives you something to do, you know, on weekends, and keeps you off the streets, keeps you, you know, off the couch with the video game controller every weekend.
That's right.
You know, and thing with go-karts, you know, if you don't get the kids started racing, you know, at a young age, involved in it, you know, it's one of these days you're going to be looking at the grid for, you know, your next class of cars to come out, and there's going to be very few or none, because, you know, the kids just really, I sat there and watched them at the track for years. Their grandmother and grandpa raced, and mom and daddy, aunt and uncle, and all the kids stand there hugging the fence, and waiting until they could get old enough. And then I'm like, man, it ain't fair, because I'm sort of like a little kid too, and I could sympathize with them. I'm like, everybody gets a race except the kids, and thank goodness, like Johnny Stokes and Brad and several more, they realized that you got to have that feeding, that little stream of racers coming on up, and start them young. So that
exactly.
helps the sport and the future of it, because they are the future. And but the go-kart,
I love go-karts.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, yeah. So, I love go-karts, and, like, the kids, like, when I was growing up, I didn't know nothing about this stuff. Like NASCAR has always been my favorite, and I've been a NASCAR fan since Moby Dick was a sardine. And that was way back when. So I'm 38 now. So my youngest memory of NASCAR is 1990. I remember the kid getting some toys, and it was a Quaker State car of not Ruttman, but Bodine, Jeff Bodine and Brett Bodine.
Oh yeah, Jeff Bodine. Yeah.
Yep. And I think it was Brett that was sponsored by Quaker State, and Jeff was the other car. And I remember them, and then Ricky Rudd's my all-time favorite next to Michael Waltrip. And I watch all kind of racing. It don't matter what it is, but they didn't have I didn't know about these kids classes or anything when I was growing up, or I'd have been the happiest little redneck kid on the block. Like I'd have been like a fat kid getting cake on his birthday. I'd have been pushing people out the way.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
But like here, have you seen the junior slingshot class they have here?
I saw a few posts, of it, and of course I've seen some 12 and 13-year-old kids out there with 700-800 horsepower late models and open wheels and whatnot. Some people, some kids are just have that natural ability and talent for that type of racing, and can handle the horsepower, and then they're all they lack is the experience, and learning the curve and not making rookie mistakes. But
and so
and
it's good for the kids to learn. And like for instance, so here the junior slingshots, all it is it looks like a late model in a way, but it's got a weird design. It's a guy named Rich Tobias who owns the company Tobias Slingshot, and then he's got the patent on it. So nobody else, there's no other race car builders that can build these cars. Only Tobias Slingshot, because he's got the patent on it and he won't release it. Which is, I understand it, I guess. And so he sells them, and you can buy from one of his dealers. And all these cars they run a Briggs & Stratton lawnmower motor, and they run either a 2-barrel or a 1-barrel carburetor. And with the 2-barrel, at one time, Mr. Tobias was telling everybody that the junior slingshots down here on Northwest Florida Speedway, Tri-County, and Southern, they were saying that the junior slingshots were running faster times than the ones running asphalt up north. And they'll even have adult divisions of this class. It don't matter. If you can fit in that car, you can race. But here it's just the kids mostly. They used to have an adult division, and then my understanding, the mother and daughter got out of it, so then it became the kids. And then they said the 2-barrel was too fast, so they took the 2-barrel off, and now they race a 1-barrel. But them cars are running 50, 60 miles an hour on a dirt track.
Oh yeah, that sounds like the Sharp Mini late models. It was basically the same thing, like a maybe I don't know what scale it would be, but a miniature looking late model with the body and little cage and all that, and they run like I think the GX390 Honda 13 horse adults, and then they run like a Predator for the kids, and they look just like a little late model, and they run them at Talladega, and
That's the one that Cash Wilson owns and sells,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's right. I believe you're
those
right.
those are quick little cars. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, how's your son looking at points?
Well, let's see. This year, I think he secured the street stock track championship at Magnolia the other night. He was ahead of Lee Ray by 32 points, I think, and then he finished seventh. So I believe he still got him with 18 or 20 points or so. And this is his first year in street stock. He got out of the go-karts. Well, we ran state series for years when Laura Pender and Johnny Brady started doing the go-kart deal. And when they started, I was the very first sponsor on their first race at Starkville. It was an indoor race, and I called Johnny, and I didn't want to sponsor the adults, the big kids and adults, and so I sponsored the rookie red plates, the 5 to 8 year olds, and we ran that series with Johnny and Laura from I think 2010 up until 2017 or 18, I think, and when they finally had ended their series, and we done a lot of racing with them. We formed a Mississippi group of the Unlimited All-Stars, which is basically, the standard go-kart with you're allowed up to 510 cc's of a 4-stroke engine or 275. I think maybe now the rules changed to 300 cc 2-stroke, and we could run the side panels and wings, aerofoil wings, and all that for downforce and side force, keep you in the corners. And we run all the little tracks that we could. We ran Hattiesburg. My brother-in-law actually in 2016 we was there. He ran a 13.785, and they said that was the fastest lap of anything that had ever been around Hattiesburg up to that point until Tony Stewart and I think the USAC or whatever come by the next year, and of course they ran down in the 12s or whatever. We ran Wynot. We ran both tracks at Columbus. We tried to get all the car tracks, at one point or another, because to a go-kart it's a super speedway like a Daytona or Talladega is for NASCAR. We held the Grand Nationals at Wynot in 2016, and we had 54 or 55 go-karts from, Pennsylvania, Florida, all the way from the state of Washington. And, in fact, I think the guy from Washington ended up winning the national race we held. And then once again, my brother-in-law, me and him, we've raced together. That's my partner, CNH. He's just done them naturally good drivers, and of course, he was always a little smaller and lighter than me, so he could edge me out when it come to the weight issues. But he set the record for go-karts at Wynot at 13.510 in 2014, I think it was. Late model gets around at around 12.9 or so. So with Unlimited All-Stars, the senior class, you're looking at a horsepower to weight ratio that's pretty similar to a 2,350-pound late model with 800 horsepower. You're in a go-kart 375, 400, 425 pounds with 80 to 100 horsepower.
Wow.
So, and then
one thing
we come up with the rules for and started another junior Unlimited All-Star in 2015, and so it's still growing and spreading. And we have the juniors, which is age 13 to 17 nationals. The same day we have our senior nationals, which it gets moved around from region to region, every year. Last year was Georgia. Year before that, I think. Well, I went to Spokane, Washington. The year before, it's 2,200 mile one way for the go-kart race, and I got to go to basically it's Hunterstown Speedway, but it's right next to Gettysburg Battlefield in Pennsylvania next weekend, the 15th and 16th. So that's an 800+ mile trip, and I think next year we're looking at Southern California, but So it's like Unlimited All Stars is the top tier class in go karts. It's it's the fastest go karts on dirt. You got to get approved. You actually get issued a Unlimited All Star license, and so then you got to mind your P's and Q's, and we're super big. Like safety is number one. Top priority.
That's great.
Because the speeds that we reach, is just insane. 1/2 inch, 5/8 off the ground, no roll bars, no seat belts. Just hanging on, and you're looking at 20 carts on the track at 400 plus pounds. So if something happens up front, it could get ugly. And
I've only ever been to a few kart races. One that I can remember. I got invited by my friend James Malloy. I don't know if you know him, but James's daughter has always raced in the go-karts. And this is back when Oak Grove Motor Speedway was open over there in Baker, Florida. And sadly, Dylan, who had Oak Grove Motorsports Park, had to close it because they were having people stealing from the racetrack. There was a bunch of items that were stolen, and it's sad that it's stupid people like that. I just want to give them a Chuck Norris roundhouse kick to the face. And
yeah, and just vandalism, tearing stuff up for pure meanness, Yeah.
Yeah, and so this racetrack is not even 5 minutes from Northwest Florida Speedway, where I go to watch, because Northwest Florida Speedway is a 1/4 mile track. Well, Elk Grove Motorsports Park is big enough to where you could race Stingers, full-size cars on there. But they raced go-karts on there. And I went there for the big memorial race because, I work with the Southern Dirt Track Report. So I went up there. I got invited up there by James. And I videoed the races, I believe, and I took pictures. Actually, I know I took pictures. I went there, and I interviewed Dylan, which was cool, real good guy. And they had... I don't know a lot about go-kart racing, but they had, and it was raining that day, and it was muddy. You had to have a 4-wheel drive just to get into the racetrack. Like my 2-wheel drive Escape I was in, it was doing all it could because it flooded that day. Well, even though it flooded, they had 90-something go-karts, and they had 60-something go-karts in that memorial race. And it was a memorial race for the... I can't remember the brother's name, but it's 2 brothers that race, and one of them died. He got shot, a gunshot, and they did the memorial race for him. And I have never witnessed anything like that go-kart. They had 60-something carts for that one feature. It was unbelievable,
wow.
And I was impressed. And then, of course, either last year or the year before, they had to close the racetrack. But talking safety in go-karts, do you know any go-kart drivers or a series or a class that would be interested in getting a fuel arrestor made for their fuel cell of the go-kart?
I've been thinking that over, and looking at my carts and coming up with ideas and all. It definitely I mean, like you said earlier, you don't need to skimp when it comes to safety, and you shouldn't be forced or make something mandatory. It's the same concept where people go, they'll get them 4 new tires and buy them, this, that, and other for the car and all that, and then, get them a $20 or $30 helmet out from a yard sale,
Exactly.
But,
it's one of those deals. It's one of those deals you pay for what you buy. You pay for what you get.
Exactly. Now, when we all raced the Briggs and Stratton's flatheads, of course, the engine's mounted on the rear just like they are now, but the Briggs and Stratton's held the fuel tank right on top of the engine, so it was in a bad place, and actually I had a fuel tank burst on me, and I got 2nd and 3rd degree burns. 25% of my body got airlifted by helicopter to UAB, and it was from methanol. I couldn't see it burn. I just seen my clothes and suit just turning orange and melting off of me. And finally, I rolled around on the ground until enough of it was put out. And So I didn't even know it, but when you get burned, they have a mathematical formula where they take your health condition and I guess your blood pressure, your age, and all these factors, and then they put it in the computer, and it gives your chance of your survival rate. They come in there and told me I had a 50% chance of living, and I sort of like, bull crap. I have a 100% chance I'm going to live, and as long as infection is the worst thing, but they took good care of me. I got out of there. I had to spend 6 months or 6 weeks at home until all the galls, whatever, come off, and getting burned second and third degree, you burn the nerve ending. So I mean it hurts, but then it don't hurt because they're burned up. But after I'd healed up, I had to go back to UAB every other week, physical therapy to stretch all your skin, or you'll have limited mobility. That actually hurt worse than the accident. I am not joking, because they'll grab your arms or whatever it is and pull them things on up and they have to
with that
for your own
methanol,
good.
It showed up burn. Golly.
Oh yeah, it burns, and you can't really see it burn because you only see what's being burned, and it was. But these nowadays we run the favorite motor now is the little Predator engines from Harbor Freight, which they come with a gas tank mounted on top, but they're so cheesy. They remove the gas tank, and most of the fuel tanks are located actually right on the floorboard under the steering wheel column between your knees. So it's central. It's kind of a hard place to get to, but the safer blanket, that'd be extra added protection. Plus, it would, keep the heat and sunlight and the elements off of it too.
Yes,
I definitely are going to recommend it, because a lot of these guys have custom aluminum tanks welded up, to fit their go-kart, and a rupture or anything could happen, especially a violent wreck or a flip or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's something to think about. Even something as small as a go-kart, you can still get burned. And with the fuel arresters, I look at it this way, because I'm a salesman. I say I'm a salesman. I'm just good at selling stuff. I could sell ice to Eskimos. And and look, you find me some Eskimos, I might sell them some ice. But no, I'm just I love to tell jokes and joke around. But
Me too.
I just graduated recently from Kennesaw State University, which they had a 3 online professional selling course, and I graduated with 3 certificates on selling, which already helps with my many years of retail sales experience. And one of the things I can tell you is, look at it as, and I can't remember who brought this up to me. I don't think it was my idea, because I like to bring credit to people that come up with stuff. But anyways, whoever it was, it may have been me, I don't know. But I got to thinking, and this is one of my sales pitches that I give to people, or safety pitches, I should say, is that the fuel arrestor, I look at it as like an insurance policy. It's an insurance policy because it's there if you ever need it. You hope you never need it. You hope and pray to God you never need it. But it's there if you have it on your car. I just don't. It's a good price. I don't understand why people have such a hard time grasping on something like that would save your life, and like an insurance policy. Like if you have it in your car, it's not going to get in the way. It doesn't weigh hardly nothing. It's not going to slow your car down. It's not going to help with performance. It's there to keep you from getting burned, because you heard Dave's story when he got burned by that methanol fuel. You can't see it. And this is a neat device. It's basically like Robbie says, because he invented it. It's a vest or a diaper that just fits around your fuel cell, and it's just an insurance policy is what it is. Because you just never know when something will happen. Like, for instance, I shared a video the other day on our Facebook, on our Race Safer Fuel Arrestor Facebook page, and I shared a video, and I had seen it before and shared it, but I had to reshare it because it was so new. It was from last season, I think it was, a sprint car race. And, you know, and it looked, and I don't know what kind of sprint car it was, but it looked like a 410 wing sprint car. And it may have been it may have been an Outlaw 360 for all I know. But anyways, a big sprint car. And you see him in the video, somebody's panning around, they got on video. And they all of a sudden they look over and you hear the fans start screaming, and this sprint car rolls up and starts slowing down, and the sprint car is on fire. And the driver, the fire engulfs the driver. He's on fire. And you see him literally jump out of the sprint car once it stops. And he's on fire. The flames are going up to his chest, and he's dancing. And the safety crews aren't there yet. Another sprint car driver jumps out of his sprint car and starts jumping on this guy and starts beating him down and patting him to get the fire out. And finally, you see the safety crews roll up, and they spraying the guy down. And I would love to interview the guy. I don't know who his name was or the whole story, but you see that, and you think to yourself, wow, that's a pretty serious thing. I need to start taking this serious, because you can't really, like you said, you can't see the fuel. It's invisible. You know, it'll hurt.
Yeah, that's right. You're exactly right. Yep. Yeah, some of these Unlimiteds, you know, like I said, they can run, you know, such big motors, and a lot of them run the Honda CR450F is real popular. It's the same engine that comes on, you know, like a Honda four-wheeler. And these guys, some of these tanks, custom tanks that they build, you know, to hold fuel, they build them to hold, you know, 2 to 2.5 gallons of fuel, which will only give you about 20, maybe 25 minutes of run time. And
wow.
So, you know, you're carrying a lot of fuel if something ruptures. I mean, that 2 gallons of fuel, man, could burn a, you know, a Walmart down for sure. But,
oh, my gosh. Ooh. I've never thought about it like that. Yeah. Ooh, that's a lot of fuel.
Yeah. We started our region in, well, we got it started in 2013, and then we went officially started a series in 2014, and we recognized right off the bat that you know, the amount of fuel that they was carrying, the amount of fuel they was burning, and then, you know, you get a bunch of cautions and this, that, and other, and then you show your good race starts falling apart because guys are running out of fuel and stuff. So we used a local option for the Mississippi region, and we went to a 15-minute time limit, because, you know, you're making laps at 12 or 15 seconds, and if you can't make 15 laps in 15 minutes, then we're not racing anyway, you know. So
right.
that really improved our program, and you know, made it more of a quality show instead of, you know, a monkey circus for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, we're super big on we got our motto has 3 words in it. It's sportsmanship, integrity, and camaraderie. I mean, the guys, they all get along and all that, on and off the track. It's very important. Them guys and girls are looked up and watched by all the little kids, just like bigger than life heroes. The camaraderie, we all hang out, we go visit each other in the pits. We don't like hide our machines or this, that, and other. We're very open and share ideas and look at each other's stuff, and then on the track, it's real super important to the sportsmanship even more extreme, because, you know, you're racing at super high speeds, and there might be a guy or girl that's, you know, having a handling issue, and you know, you're right there on them, and if they get out of the throttle and you're on the throttle, you know, the closing rate is just, I mean, it happens before, you know, you can even get on the brakes. So we try to give our competitors, you know, plenty of room to race, and avoid contact, you know, with each other, you know, at all possible costs, and you know, try to put on a good race. And it's just awesome when you can get, you know, 20 guys or so out there and you know, have a good green race, and nobody gets hurt, which we started Unlimited All-Stars, you know, at them speeds and everything. And I was a race director, administrator, so I'm at the fence watching, you know, critiquing, you know, to help improve whatever, or, you know, if issues come up, and, you know, it increased my prayer life 100-fold, you know, for everybody's safety, because I was, you know, I'm worried to death somebody was going to get hurt, and, you know, knock on wood and thank the Lord that, you know, nobody ever got real seriously injured, you know. But
and that's another good thing you brought up is prayer and racing, because like I try to, you know, when I was talking about the field racer, I look at it as a safety net, kind of like what God is to me, because I look to God for safety. I pray, you know, I put God first in everything I do. Without God, I wouldn't have nothing. I wouldn't be safe. I wouldn't be this. And I wouldn't be here talking with you on this show,
right.
talking to Mr. Parker. So without God, and I like what you said, prayer, because prayer is key. That'll help a lot.
Exactly, yep. And that's why I love dirt track racing, because it's like, you know, I can be depressed or whatever, but I know there's a race coming Saturday. I got something to look forward to and see everybody, and going to get that church service anyway, because there's going to be a prayer. Going to get to sing or stand for the national anthem, and like at the MAG, Dr. Robert Eaton, he holds a little sermon, you know, before the race, and inspiring and all that. So, you know, I know God loves some good racing and sportsmanship, and because, you know, keeps us all safe. And
that's right. And
you know,
and speaking of Dr. Eaton, he's somebody else who I think highly of. I've met him twice. I think it's twice, maybe 3 times. But anyways, I watched him preach when I was over at Magnolia that night that I called you, and I watched him preach, and he did a darn good. And he calls it racing. What does he call it? His preaching.
Something racing ministries or something. I don't know the exact what he calls it.
But yeah, it's pretty good to watch him. Hold up, I'm gonna look that up. Robert Eaton, because Miss Teresa Littles, do you know her?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So Miss Teresa talks highly of him, and Victory Lane Church. That's it. Victory Lane Church.
Victory Lane. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and she talks highly of him all the time. Her and her husband David are good friends with him and Miss Sherry, and she's like, "Oh, you got to meet Dr. Eaton," and she said, "He's just a nicer fellow you ever want to meet." And sure enough, I met him my first time ever at Magnolia. I've only been there 3 times, but it was the first time last year, and I enjoyed it. He was a nice guy, and then I loved watched him preach at Victory Lane Church. It was a message that spoke to me. I don't remember what it was about. It's been last month, I think it was, but I enjoyed it, and ain't no telling how many people at the racetrack get to hear about Jesus, something like that. You know?
That's right. Exactly right. Yep. Whether they want to or not, didn't hurt them at all.
That's right. I mean, I try to tell people all the time about Jesus, because I put Jesus first on this podcast, of course. He's the reason why I have this podcast. And I thank him, and of course, I got to thank the 110 Nation Sports, which is Jason McMillan. Thankfully for Jason, I wouldn't have this. Him and Chris Creighton with Race Chat Live, and Chris Creighton is also the announcer at Why Not Motorsports Park. So shout out to those 2 guys. They're great people. And,
I like Chris.
Like, Chris is a super good guy. He's a top of the line announcer, and you know, it doesn't hurt for people to hear about Jesus, because I want to see people go to heaven. I don't want to see them go to hell. And racing's a good way, a good avenue to put Jesus out there. That's like Ron Southern, Ron Southern's on the top of my list of people I think highly of, and he does all my logos, and he's got Racing Towards Jesus Ministries, which is his ministry, and you look him up on Facebook. And then he's good about praying with people, praying at the racetrack and stuff like that. And, I don't want to see people go to hell. That's like getting burned. You think getting burned from a fuel fire is pretty bad. Going to hell is 10 times worse.
That'd be bad. Yeah, that's right.
And,
that's exactly right.
like Alan Jackson's got a song. I'm a huge Alan Jackson fan, but he's got a song called "If Jesus Walked the World Today, He'd Probably Be a Hillbilly. He'd probably be a common man of men and a man of many, or king of many." And I get to thinking about that. I said, daggum, if Jesus was alive today, he'd probably be just like a redneck like us. He'd be at the racetrack telling people about Jesus.
Yeah,
telling people about
would,
God.
Yeah. That's right.
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine a race team, Team JC, Team Jesus Christ, and you have his pit crew as the 12 disciples?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Oh,
right.
man,
yeah.
That would be a hoot, because you know how them disciples are hard to get along, and they'd be showing up hard to get along at the racetrack trying to change a tire.
Yes, that's right. But, I just love the racing, and, everybody's there. I try to visit with as many folks as I can and make new friends and see everybody. And, it's just, it's a good time, and usually, don't stress out or whatever, or worry and stuff. And you're talking about racing, everybody wants to win and be a champion. And, you get your picture and you get a few minutes of celebration, for all your blood, sweat, and tears and hard work. But at the same time, it's racing is probably one of the most humbling sports that they are.
Yes, I agree.
When you realize, you can't put yourself up on on high place and brag and be the king, because once you're up there on top, it's easier to get to the top than stay up there, because everybody is working, trying to knock you off, and they don't realize that it's not all celebrating and glory and stuff. It's very humbling and a lot of work, a lot of hard work, to get there.
So I got two things real quick before I let you go. Is one of the things, what is your number one, or what are your safety checks, or your number one thing you do in safety in a go-kart or a big car?
All right, well, in go-karts, we do things different, than your car races, for sure. A lot of people, you mentioned, go-kart racing like we do, it's not mainstream TV, and don't get all the accolades and recognition like cars as much. And a lot of folks, when you mention go-karts, first thing pops in their mind is a yard cart, or a fun cart. These are, purpose-built racing chassis, just like your car, and it'll kind of like freak people out when you tell them that a go-kart is the most technically challenging type of motorsports, except for Formula F1. The go-kart has, the chassis flexes very little. The only suspension you have is the air in your tires and whatever the spring rate is on your sidewalls of the tires. So, you're up, and of course, it's very, go-karts is tires, set up, tires, and tires. But what we do different than what you see at the car races is when everybody gets at the track, whatever, they have to put the cart on a buggy or whatever, and they have to bring it to a pre-race inspection station where we'll have guys or girls that goes over it, make sure that all the little locking devices are on there, the safety pins, wires, brake rotors wired up, everything on it is safe. You have to bring your personal racing gear there. You have to show us your neck brace, gloves, fire suit, and you have to wear closed-toe shoes, and your helmet can't be damaged or cracked, and like no older than 5 years old. So we do a pre-race safety inspection on it, and then we put like a little colored label on there so that we know. And then post-race is usually an inspection would be just to check legality of the engine and correct weight, for your classes. But so I've never seen a car race get, except for one race, All American 60 in Jackson, where they done a pre-race check and measured and checked everything for the factory stock down there. But you don't hardly never see them, go to a scale house or guys go all over cars. You could have a homemade roll cage out of pixie straws and super glue, and no one would know it. But,
ooh, yeah.
But
and believe it or not, there's people out there that have cages in their cars, and it looks like some redneck went out there with Gorilla Glue and duct tape, said let's go.
I've seen many of them. I've seen roll cages built out of Jim Dandy swing set tubing before, and Gorilla welds would, look like a dirt dauber and got a weld a little bit here and there, and convinced me right about, like, Lord got angels looking out for the ones that they just don't know, Or,
wow.
That roll cage, it's great and all, as long as y'all, it don't matter if it's made out of air, as long as you're on your 4 tires and don't get run over hard. But, if you go to rolling, whatever, that's the reason that it's there. And, the world's a dangerous place, and what we do is even more dangerous. So, I mean, the only way to do it is do it as safely as possible,
Yeah. Well, that's good. So one more thing before I let you go. Do you want to shout any sponsors out? Anybody you want to mention that helps you, your son's team and all that?
Yeah, my son and nephew and my grandnephew and brother-in-law, we all race out of the same shop, and our main sponsor over the last 4 or 5 years has been S&J Auto Sales and Salvage, located in Aberdeen. I mean, they've been our primary sponsor and really helped Cody and my nephew and Brandon and out, and kept them in good equipment and everything. So we try to run hard and represent them well, and and give them shout outs. And then our very first sponsor, CMS Sales and Service, or Aberdeen Bad Boy Mowers dealer and small engines. And they've been with us since day one. And we got a couple more. We got MC Construction. They do barns and metal buildings. Sway Trucking, Black Magic Suspension, Jay Dickens Racing Engines. There's just so many people that's involved. It's a huge thing. It's a huge team effort for sure. And we couldn't do it without everybody helping and supporting us for sure.
Well, that's great. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you calling in. I saw Mr. Parker listen for quite a while. He just got off from listening, but thank you, Donald Parker, for staying on and listening. And I'll be glad to bring y'all on anytime y'all want to come on. I'm going to do this every Thursday at 7. Try to go an hour. If I go over an hour, I'm not going to go 2 hours. I can tell you that, because you'll lose viewership, whatever. But,
viewers, yep.
Yeah. Keep it kind of under 2 hours. So.
Yeah. I think I scheduled me one for tomorrow night or tomorrow evening for 1 hour, and I'm just going to jump on there before the weekend to get the word out on some racing that's coming up, because we're racing go-karts at the Mini Mag, which is located inside of the Magnolia racing facility. I'm sure you saw the little track when you was there.
Yes.
So we're racing karts at Magnolia Motor Speedway Saturday, and then Saturday night the cars will be in action at Mississippi's oldest dirt track, Columbus Speedway, on the high banks of the baddest bull ring in the South. So I'm gonna get the word out, for them, and then plus 21st, I think, or whatever. We got a big race at back at the Mag. I think it's the Governor's Cup, I believe, and then that leads us to Cotton Picking 100 coming up, I think, in October or whatever, maybe. So
the Cotton Picking, that's a big race.
Yeah, and I think Columbus Speedway still has 6 or 7 races scheduled. They've been like some other tracks. Every time the weekend came, the weather has put them way behind, but it's a good track. It's got good clay on it, and if you got a weak link on your car or whatever, it'll find it there, because you can put the power down at Columbus Speedway on that track.
Yeah, I've got to go to that one. Yeah, I've definitely got to go to that one. And
I've been
cool.
rolling around in that dirt since 1969 at Columbus Speedway with my father and my uncles and all that raced back in the day.
Well, one thing, I'm glad we became friends, because you're like Robbie. Like, you and Robbie go way back. You and Robbie would love talking racing. I was hoping he was going to get to call in for the show, but it doesn't look like he's going to get to make it. But I'll get y'all together to talk racing and whatnot, because he's been around as long as you have. His dad raced sprint cars in the 70s, and then he got into racing in the 80s and did it. and then he raced up until just a few years ago, and he can't race now because he's got to have back surgery. His back bothers him too much now to do it. But if he could, he'd be driving a street stock or a non-wing sprint car. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna get y'all in touch with each other one day on the show. And but I appreciate you calling in, and send me your link for tomorrow so I can do my best to listen to your show, because I want people that support me, I want to support them. So
10-4, I'll do it. I sure will.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. It was great. I enjoyed it.
Man, I did too, Jared, and I'll be talking to you soon, buddy.
All right. I'll see you later.
All right, buddy. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Cool. All right. That was Dave Chisholm. His son races at Magnolia Motor Speedway. And then also Dave races go-karts, as you heard. And, he loves his racing. You can tell it by he knows his stuff. He's been around the business a long time, like he said, since 69 at Columbus. So, yeah, that was cool. Let's see. I think we got another caller calling in. Let me see who this is. Let me see who we got here. Somebody's on hold.
Hello?
Hello there. What's going on?
I was just calling up. I don't know if you've been on some of these online sports betting websites.
Okay.
I'm wondering because, some of these, I really didn't mind the sports betting at first. I know there were some advertisements on TV, and I was fine with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand everyone has to make a buck. But, I went on one of these websites today, and I see a bet. Will Dale Earnhardt Jr. crash and die? Is that not fucked up?
Yeah.
I mean, what is up with that?
So who is this I'm speaking with?
Sorry, my name's Dale. Also Dale.
Oh, okay.
And I'm calling out of Miami right now.
Oh, okay, cool. So how did you hear about my podcast?
I was on Blog Talk Radio and trying to find about, NASCAR shows.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Okay. Well, that's cool. You found out. I tell you, a good NASCAR show to listen to is Chris Creighton, who's also helping me produce here some. He's not able to tonight. But Chris Creighton has a NASCAR show called Race Chat Live, and he does it every Tuesday night. And it's great because he's got Taz Taylor and Lee Reed with him on there and a few others.
Right on.
And they talk NASCAR, and I love NASCAR myself, so it's a great show to listen to.
Also, I really appreciate that. One question for you: what type of racing are you into?
So I do. I like all racing really, but mostly local asphalt racing and dirt track racing. I'm usually at a dirt track race every weekend because
there you go.
I volunteer for the Southern Dirt Track Report, and so I video the races for my buddy Artie, and I video dirt races, and it's pretty cool. And then I try not to miss a race every weekend.
Mhm. Hey, man, I really appreciate you answering that question. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for calling in, and I appreciate you. God loves you, my man.
All right. Take care. You as well.
See ya.
Have a good night.
Wow, that was cool. I was not expecting that. Thank you for calling in. That was neat. I had no idea that somebody would find my show like that. That's cool. God's great. Thank you for calling in. Dale, I think was his name. Pretty cool. So Blog Talk Radio, man, has apparently got a lot of people that listen. So I don't know how many people. I'll find out from Jason. I'll have to ask him how many people tuned in the show. But I'm fixing to end the show here. It's 8:36, so we're now about an hour and 30 minutes. Don't want to go over. So before I go, I'm going to read you 3 Bible verses. And let's see. All right, and let me go in here to RaceSafeFieldRester.com. So, all right, so I'm on our website, RaceSafeFieldRester LLC. I'm going to read this, of course, 2 Bible verses. That's our Field Arrestor Bible verse. Of course, our logo, Ron Southern Made, says, "We got you covered." And the verse is Psalms 4:8, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." Pretty cool. That's an awesome verse for safety. I found that verse one day. Was just searching the internet, trying to find verses that would have to do with safety, and I said, "Man, that's awesome." So we put that on the logo. And then, of course, Miss Tina found this one. I'm going to read you this one. This is awesome. I love this verse. I believe this is the NIV version. I read the King James, is my favorite, but I love the NIV too. And this says, Isaiah 43:2, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers they will not overflow you. And when you walk through the fire, you will not be scorched, nor will the flame burn you." Wow. I'm glad she found that verse because that fits the Field Arrestor perfectly. Like I was telling Dave earlier about the safety net. God's my safety net. So just like the Field Arrestor safety net for all you drivers out there. So take field safety serious. And the last verse I'm going to read before I get off the show. And let me go through here. I've got the official Bible app where I save pictures, which is pretty cool. And this is an awesome verse. It has to do with racing, so I added this as the official verse for the racing part of the podcast. It says, "However, I consider my life worth nothing to me. My only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of God's grace." Acts 20:24. That is awesome. I'm going to run my race, finish it, and tell everybody about Jesus. So thank y'all for tuning into this podcast. I know it went a little bit over, but hey, it's okay. I'm having a great day. God's good. So thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you, Donald Parker. Thank you, Dave Chisholm, for tuning in. And maybe next week we can get Robbie on the show. If you want to be a guest on the show, you let me know. And the number to call in for the guest call in is 718-664-9861. And so, I'm going to find me a different song. I'm going to play this to end the show. Cody Hicks one more time. Left Turn, great song about dirt track racing. Go on YouTube. You can buy the song off of Amazon Music. Buy a CD from Cody. Great music. So we'll see y'all later.
Back from the pole, as I put it in the wall, second lap of my heat, got a little loose coming out of 3, got it all beat up and straightened out, the boys tell me that we're ready to run now, that's a damn good thing cause that green flag's waving and I'm on the gas, I put my sweat and blood to these nuts and bolts, yeah I turn left turn. 4 laps in from the back